Shalom. Want to first and foremost give all honor, glory, and praises to the Most High, and we do so by Sham Hamashiach Yahushai, not by Shem, but by Sham Hamashiach Yahushai. Take a breath and look around the room you're sitting in right now. Look at the walls, the lights, the relative peace you currently enjoy. Now understand this: the world you knew is already dead. You are simply living in the echo of its collapse. We are not approaching World War III. We are in the opening moments of the third woe. The weapons of his indignation, the ICBMs, the thermal warheads, the fire of judgment are already fueled. The men behind the buttons are under the spirit of destruction. While the masses are hypnotized by the vanity of the Academy Awards, obsessed with scripted lust of, what's that show? Lust of Love Island, and drowning their discernment in the green-dyed madness of St. Patrick's Day, the elements are preparing to melt with fervent heat. You are being entertained into your own grave. The adversary wants you focused on a red carpet while the sky is preparing to turn red with nuclear fire. Before we go into the deep mechanics of survival and the prophecy of the second wilderness, I have to address the spirit of sloth. Data shows that 45.2% of you watching this right now are not subscribed. You are drinking from the fountain, but refusing to secure the connection. This isn't about numbers. It's about order. We are providing information that the government will never give you and that your pastors are too afraid to touch. If you find yourself in the day of the flash blinded because you missed the instructions on retina burn, or starving because you didn't understand the bread by weight, the blood will not be on my hands. Hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification, and stop being a spectator in your own destruction. This is a time for the elect to be sealed and informed. Tonight, we are talking about a reality most of you have only seen in movies, but the prophets saw it thousands of years ago. We are talking about the moment the sky splits open. We are talking about the great noise that will shatter your windows and the radiation that will turn your city into a plague of melting flesh. Most of you are not prepared. Your cupboards are empty, your spirits are weak, and your eyes are wide open to the world, but closed to the Most High. Tonight, we turn the world upside down. We are going into the belly of the fire to find a way out. This is the second wilderness, escaping Jacob's trouble. Get your pens, get your scriptures, get your mind right. So let's open up, as always, to the book of Colossians, chapter 3 and verse 17. And whatsoever you do in word or deed, do all by Sham Hamashiach Yahushai, giving thanks to the Most High and the Father by Sham Hamashiach Yahushai. So tonight is going to be a deep lesson. I'm going to be also sharing some tactics. Some may know, some may not know, but, I served, 9 years in the Marine Corps, right? A lot of these things I'm going to, share, with the guys watching, right? So how to survive this imminent destruction that's coming. So let me share my screen. Slakia, bear me one moment. Okay, Salakia. Okay, so let's open up. The time of Jacob's trouble in the second wilderness, 85 seconds to midnight. Understanding divine protection. The key theme: watch ye therefore and pray always, that ye may be accounted worthy to escape all these things. So this is a time right now where prayer faith, fasting. You must be doing this. Like this must be something that's constant, a weekly thing. Fasting must be a weekly thing, right? The Doomsday Clock, 85 seconds. So some of y'all may not be familiar with the Doomsday Clock. You know, that's put out every year around January 22nd, and it tells you us it first started back in, I believe, 1945, I want to say, where you had the science the science of atomics. They put together a doomsday clock to see how close we are to sudden and imminent destruction, right? Well, as of this past January, the first of Esau's year, you know, it has moved 85 seconds closer to midnight. So the doomsday clock, current event, the bulletin of the atomic scientist has moved the doomsday clock to 85 seconds to midnight. Significance: this is the closest humanity has ever been to self-destruction. The secular world, cities, nuclear escalation, and AI volatility. This is all things that they mentioned in this on the doomsday clock, right? Scriptural perspective. Haggai chapter 2 and verse 7. And I will shake all nations, and the desire of all nations shall come, and I will fill this house with glory, saith the Most High of hosts. Takeaway: the world calls it political tension. We call it the shaking of the nations by the Most High. The shortening of days. Now, COVID-19, right? The pandemic, right? The plague, that literally happened about 6 years ago. But it seems like it was like yesterday. This is how the days have been shortening because the Most High is doing the shortening. Observation: time feels faster. The clock is ticking down unnaturally. So when you wake up and it's already the end of the week and you're going into another Sabbath day, that's because the Most High is shortening the time. St. Matthew chapter 24 and 22. And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. So the word kolabu in the Thayer, it means to cut off, to curtail, to mutilate. The Most High is deliberately cutting off the time allowed for the wicked to rule. If he didn't, the 85 seconds would run out and mankind would annihilate itself. As you see what's going on right now, mankind is going to annihilate themselves. So the Most High has to shorten this time. He has to speed it up. The sorrow begins. 2 Ezra chapter 15 and verse 1. And it reads, behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Most High. So this is what you're going to hear tonight. You're going to hear prophecy. You're going to hear what you need to do in these last days, how to prepare in these last days, how you possibly can survive a nuclear explosion, right? 2 Ezra chapter 15 and verse 5. Behold, saith the Most High, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. We seen when the that whole the pandemic happened, right? In 2019, 2020, when that happened, right? That was a plague. It was a shortage of food. You go in the grocery store, everything was bought up, right? We see that goes into famine. We seen a lot of people die from that. We seeing death now, destruction we're seeing now, right? Analysis. We are seeing the precursors, rumors of World War III, pestilence, and economic collapse. These are the birth pains. So like when a woman is going into labor and she start getting those contractions back to back to back, those are those birth pains, letting it be known that a child is about to be born. What we got to know is that the Most High is finna send his son back, Hamashiach Yahushai, and it's going to be a lot more pain on this earth, right? But what should you be doing? Will you survive, right? That's the question. St. Matthew chapter 24 and verse 36. But of that day and hour knoweth no man. So we're not saying that we know when it's going to happen, when the son is going to come back, when Hamashiach Yahushai is going to come back. He doesn't even know when he's going to come back. It says, but of that day and hour knoweth no man. Nobody knows this at all, right? But what we do know is that these birth pains are happening. These contractions are getting closer and closer and closer to one another, right? So we know he's coming back soon. Not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. Only the Most High knows. So if a man or a woman tells you that, hey, the sun is coming back on this day, they are a liar, and the truth is not in them. We watch the seasons, not the dates, right? We watch what's going on. We watch the time, the seasons, right? How things, they escalate, then they go back down. These are the seasons, the change, the constant change of things, right? To give strict attention, to be cautious. So watch means to give strict attention, to be cautious, active. That's what we must be doing. Watching, being cautious, being aware, being active. That means the opposite of being inert, meaning not in motion. In these last days, you must constantly be in motion, preparing a way for survival of yourself and your family, preparing a way for you to make it into the kingdom of heaven. Constantly, you must be preparing for that, right? To take heed lest some destructive calamity suddenly overtake one. A lot of people are going to be caught unaware. Those watching Love Island, right? Those too obsessed with what's going on in the world, they're going to be taken suddenly away, right? In a destructive calamity, not knowing. Getting caught slipping. Section 2, defining the trouble. Jeremiah chapter 30 and verse 7. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. No day is going to be like the days that are coming up now, right? Not in the past. We see nothing like this. What you finna see, right? What we are going to see. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. This is the focus. A specific time of judgment targeted at the house of Israel for purification. This is the time where you have to get rid of all your infirmities, all those things that cause you to lack, all those things that may cause you not to make it into the kingdom of heaven. This is the time to purify yourself of it. Whether it's you're not praying enough, whether it's you're not fasting enough, whether you're not going to the gym. Right? Or not, you don't have to go to the gym. If you're not going out just to work out, maybe doing some running somewhere, watching how you eat, doing these things. If you're not purifying yourself right now, getting your spirit aligned with your body and with your soul, you're going to be destroyed. It is unique, none like it. There's not going to be a day like this. The linguistics breakdown, trouble. From Gesenius definition, straits, distress, trouble, vexation, from a root meaning to bind, to tie up, to be narrow. Visual, a tight place where you cannot turn to the left or right. You are focused to look up, right? So just imagine yourself like, the image up here. Only way you can look is up. Only way you should be looking to is the Most High. Keeping him first, remembering that order, the Most High, his son, right? The Most High, his son, then man, then woman, right? That's the order. Looking up, looking for the prize. The New Testament parallel. St. Matthew chapter 24 and verse 21. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world. So we have never seen nothing like this. What's finna take place? We have never seen nothing like this. Not in your pappy's time, not in your grandmammy's time, not in your grandpappy's time, not in your uncle's time. You ain't seen nothing like this. You ain't seen nothing like this in the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, 60s, and 70s. You ain't seen nothing like this at all. The ellipsis, pressing together, pressure, right? We are going to be under constant pressure, oppression, affliction, distress. This is what you have to really be mentally prepared for. Oppression, affliction, distress. How are you going to operate when you have 4 mouths to feed, right? And all you got is just one loaf of bread, right? And you got little kids, you got your babies and they hungry. Their stomachs are growling, right? And then you got to go out inside of that nuclear radiation to find some food. What are you going to eat? Are you going to eat with the first thing you see and laying on the ground? You may find a dead deer, right? Do you know the law about not eating the animal that died of his own? Because you may take a bite into that dead deer and think it's okay to cook because, you know, your little ones are hungry. And next thing you know, you ate a radioactive deer and now you feed this to your family and all y'all are going to now die slowly from radiation poison, right? These are things that you need to know. Connection. Both, so Sarah and Syphilis, both describe intense pressure designed to squeeze the character out of a man. That's when you really find out who is who can handle what, right? When you're under this intense pressure, affliction, distress. Zechariah chapter 13 and verse 9. And I will bring the third part through the fire. So we know from the scriptures that only a certain amount is going to make it, right? The third part is going to be brought through this fire, brought through nuclear destruction, right? Only a third part. And will refine them as silver, right? When you look at that word refining as silver and you look at it on the physical level, right? When you put on fire on gold and silver, it burns out all those impurities. When you have to ration out your food, right? And you have to keep that your spirit focused, and that spirit has to feed your body. Literally, that's what's keeping you going, is your spirit keeping you going. That's when you are going to be purified. That's when you know you are going through your purification, right? When nothing matters anymore but your survival. And will refine them as silver is refined, and will try them as gold is tried. The concept. The trouble is not punitive for the elect. It is refining. Because those that are chosen, and we don't know if we are the elect at all. We don't know this, right? But those that are the elect, they are making steps towards being refined right now. The only thing is you have to endure until the end. Those that are watching this live, those that may watch the replay on it, right? We can't say that we are the elect at all, but we are saying that we can make steps toward possibly being the possible elect, the hopeful elect. If you're constantly trying to refine your spirit, you're constantly trying to refine your body, your soul and stuff, change your character, you are making steps towards being the elect. It burns away the dross. The dross is that unwanted material that you don't need, right? At the end of everything, right? The dross is that on the physical level, that's that processed and white sugar. That's the ways of the world. That's what the dross is. You burning away the ways of the world, right? So that the only pure silver remains. Right? Only pure silver remains. That's that spirit. That's what your body is operating off of. Right? Why the world is punished. Let's look at Isaiah chapter 24 and verse 5. Isaiah chapter 24 and verse 5. The earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof. So that's the dross. The inhabitants of this world that participate in all the wickedness of this world, like St. Patty's Day, right? That's the dross. That's what you don't want to be a part of. The earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinances, broken the everlasting covenant. That's what's happened. The everlasting covenant has been broken. Therefore, hath the curse devoured the earth. Nuclear bombs, radiation, right? War. This is the curse that's going to devour the earth. And they that dwell therein are desolate. That means you don't know where to get. You didn't know how to acquire, right? Because we don't know how long this trouble is going to last, right? So what this is about sustainability, right? It's not only about just stockpiling a whole bunch of stuff, because you don't know when it's going to end. It's about sustainability, having skills, right? Knowing how to make something. What is your craft? What are you good at? That's what it's about in the end. That's what this truth is about in the end. This truth is about sustainability. And that's what endurance is. Endurance is sustainability. How long can you sustain in this truth, right? A lot of us want to just say, Kwam Yasha Allah, right? And you just totally forget the Most High. The Most High who gave you breath and life who's giving you this sustainability and this endurance. So how about Quam Most High, right? Do the proper order of things, because Israel ain't gonna sustain nothing, right? Israel can barely sustain and maintain throughout the days of the week. The only one that's going to sustain us is the Most High. That's it. Therefore, have the curse devour the earth, because the Most High, he's the one that put the curse on the earth, and they that dwell therein are desolate. Therefore, the inhabitants of the earth are burned. You see that? The inhabitants of the earth are burned. Are we not inhabitants of this earth right here? And I can only suspect that nobody listening to this live and who may watch the replay wants to be burned, right? And few men left. It says a few people are going to be left. You want to be count amongst that few, right? Because that means you done passed at least stage 1, right? Theological term, harmatia, to miss the mark, to err, to wander from the path of uprightness and honor. This is what you don't want to do. This is what we don't want to do. We don't want to wander from the path of uprightness, right? Of being lawful, of doing the right thing. Section 3, the physical realities of the collapse. Now, this is what's real right here, right? We're about to turn it up a little bit, right? Because this is what war is really about right here. This is what really happens, right? The bread of weight, rations. Let's look at Ezekiel chapter 4. Let's look at Ezekiel chapter 4 and verse 16. Moreover, he said unto me, Son of man, behold, I will break the staff of bread in Jerusalem, right? That's our food. This is talking about us. When it says in Jerusalem, it's talking about the people, the Israelites, us, the 12 tribes. Moreover, he said unto me, Son of man, behold, I will break the staff of bread in Jerusalem, and they shall eat bread by weight, right? Make sure you're taking notes on this right here. It says they will eat bread by weight. Right now, you getting game right now. It says you will eat the bread by weight. This is talking about, this is a time right now to start learning how to ration portions out, portions control, right? Knowing what a proper serving of something is. Whatever you buy, whether it's a bag of a loaf of bread, whether it's some chips, no matter what it is, it always has a serving size on the back of it, right? I did a video before about, when I was in the grocery store in Sprouts, the front of the package, that's nothing but the advertisement, right? On the back of the package, that tells the facts. How much you should be eating is one of the top things that it says, the proper serving size, right? It says, and they shall drink water by measure. So your water, you're going to have to measure that out, because you're going to have a lot of contaminated water. Like right now, I'm here on the West Coast, right? We're surrounded by ocean water, right? But you know what? You can't drink ocean water unless you want to die of dehydration, right? You're going to have to know and learn ways to purify water, right? And how can you purify water? How can you clean water, right? A simple way to clean water is to take the water that's contaminated, right? And you want to heat that water, and you want to create a system that catches the vapor, the steam. That's what you're going to drink. The steam that collects, that you heat up, you want to find a way to collect that steam and put that into a separate container that's clean, a glass container preferably, and that steam turns into drinkable water, right? These are things that you must know if you plan on surviving, right? Because you can't just go drink water. And we're going to go more into that too in this presentation. And they shall drink water by measure and with astonishment. 2nd Ezra chapter 6 and verse 22. 2nd Ezra chapter 6 and verse 22. And it reads, and suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown. What is this talking about? This is talking about your grocery stores. This is talking about your Dollar Trees, right? This is talking about your Family Dollars. The places that used to be stocked, the shelves used to be plenteous. Because let me let y'all know something, right? put y'all up on some game, because tonight is about giving out game tonight, right? Giving out ways of survival tonight. These grocery stores run off something called a JIT, right? Not the JITs that be out in Florida, right? But just in time is what it stands for. Just in time. What that means is that grocery stores only kind of have just a 3-day supply of food. And how the system works is work to like perfection, right? So when a product is on its last, right? That's why you got barcodes and stuff. That barcode is scanned. It lets the store manager know how much of that product that they have. Like, let's say if it's water, right? They say they scan a case of water and they say, okay, we now have about, I don't know, let's say about 100 cases of spring water left. Crystal guys, it's time to order more. And then that computer system will send a chain of emails, right, to the people that produce the Crystal Geyser water, letting them know this shipment needs to be loaded on this truck and sent to these parts of the world, right? To this store here in I don't know, LA. The Sprouts in LA needs to be sent to, right? That's what it's called, a just-in-time service. So it's only 3 days, right? The store has 3 days worth of supplies. That's it. It doesn't have an endless amount of supplies. And here, living on the West Coast, on the West Coast, guess what? A lot of those places that you get your produce from, that you get things like water from, that you get your food from, it comes from the center of the United States. It comes from places like Ohio. It comes from places like Indiana, right? It comes from places like Mississippi. These are these big, huge manufacturing hubs are at, right? So to get to where you are at, it has to travel that amount of distance. Now, if all hell is broken loose, all chaos is broken loose, best believe there's going to be stops in supply chains, right? So you meant that your store, your favorite Sprout store, may not get that case of water. It may not get that loaf of bread, because you got now the freeways have turned into a giant parking lot, right? Where cars are just broken down. Now what you going to do? What you going to tell your family now, right? And that's what this class is for. 2 Corinthians 6:22 again. And suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown. The full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty, right? And we went through that during 2020, right? With the great pandemic. That was nothing but a test run. The supply chain collapse leads to government mandate rations. This is where you're going to have to go to like FEMA, right? Money will not buy food. Only obedience or the mark will grant access to the storehouse. Is it your chosen day to get this? You know, back in the 70s, right? They had something where it was, I believe it could be either the 60s or the 70s, where you had gas. You couldn't get gas on a certain day unless your license plate read a certain number, right? That was your mark. That was your distinct factor, saying that today, license plate that end with, I don't know, let's say the letter Z, they are going to get food today, right? That was the mark right there for you, right? The following day, the ones that end in A through L, they're going to get gas, right? So these are things you have to understand right here, right? These are things that you have to know. Horror of hunger, cannibalism. Let's look at that. Leviticus chapter 26 and 29. Because let's say on day 5, right, your food truck don't get there. And you don't got nothing inside of your cabinet. You got nothing in your cabinet but flour and some sugar, right? That's all that's in your cabinet, right? And now all of a sudden, you start looking at your kids, right? You start looking at little Ronnie. Like, oh man, little Ronnie, he always was the scrawny one, right? He don't like he got much longer. What you gonna do? You gonna eat little Ronnie? What's gonna happen? Right? Leviticus 26 and 29. And ye shall eat the flesh of your sons, and the flesh of your daughters shall ye eat. This is real stuff right here. This is real things that are going to happen if you are not prepared, right? Let's look at 2 Kings chapter 6. Let's look at 2 Kings chapter 6 and verse 28. And the king said unto her, what aileth thee? And she answered, this woman said unto me, give thy son that ye may eat him today. So it may be come down to that, right? Your next door neighbor say, you know what, today you give your son, right? And we will eat my son tomorrow. And you know, tomorrow, you know, we'll eat my son, right? And I, you know, he was an underachiever anyway, right? So we boiled my son and did eat him. And I said unto her on the next day, give thy son that we may eat him. And she have hid her son. So what's going to happen, right? So you eat little Ronnie one day, and then the next day you're going to want to eat little Donnell, right? And then your neighbor hides little Donnell. And it's like, wait, hold on, we had a plan here. You know, we was going to eat Ronnie today and little Donnell tomorrow. What's going on, right? You know, when the storehouses are empty, second Esdras, the beast nature of man is revealed. This is when that real character comes out, right? Because you haven't been purified, right? Your spirit hasn't learned discipline, right? You haven't overcome your hunger, those belly growls and stuff like that. One thing that I really recommend for people to do, right? If you're not doing it, definitely fast every single week, weekly, right? But what I also recommend is that when you fast, work out when you fasting, right? Go for it. Go for a 1 mile jog. Do some push-ups, right? Start burning your, get a caloric deficit for a change, right? You know, find out what your BMI is and see how much food you should have on a daily basis. How many calories you actually need on a daily basis. Find these things out now. Famine, hunger, scarcity of food. Warning, the modern world is not exempt from ancient curses. So just because we live in a time where we have what you call a just-in-time services, you are not exempt at all. Starvation overrides morality for those without the spirit. You see that? Isaiah chapter 4 and verse 1. Isaiah chapter 4 and verse 1. And in that day, 7 women shall take hold of one man, saying, we will eat our own bread. Because maybe they got a stockpile of food, right? Maybe they got a surplus of their own things. You say, you know, you don't got to feed me at all, you know. You don't got to feed me. I've been, you know, storing up food for the last, 10 years or so. And wear our own apparel. You know, I got clothes, a lot of women got clothes in the closet. Only let us be called by thy name to take away our reproach, right? Because a lot of women now are going to become, for lack of a better words, they're going to become spoiled, booty, right? That's what the pirates call it. They call it booty, right? You'll become spoils of war. Isaiah chapter 13 and verse 16. And it reads, their children also shall be dashed to pieces. So the women that got children, them little children that can't stop crying, right? They didn't fast, didn't learn the type of stuff. They're going to give away their position. They're going to be dashed to pieces before their eyes. Now, can you imagine that? Right? The closest thing I can look at that is, that kind of the scripture kind of goes back to those that ever watched the show The Walking Dead, right? And when Negan was introduced to the show, right? And I mean, that pretty much, some people said that was the end of the show, The Walking Dead, when Negan came, right? But we had Negan, right? And for those that are fans of, The Walking Dead show, Negan, he's pretty much a badass, right? He had a leather black jacket. He had a baseball bat named Lucille that had spikes on it and everything. But anyways, Negan, he had a group of survivors, Rick's crew, right? From The Walking Dead. And he had them all huddled around. They all were on their knees and stuff like that. They had their hands tied behind their back, and you had everybody that was from the sanctuary, which is Negan's group. They were all had them like on the ground. Negan is inside of the center of this whole this whole thing, right? And he's saying with his baseball bat with Lucille, he's saying any, many, miny, mo, and he's pointing out who he's gonna bash with his baseball bat, right? And he points out a guy, right? And then he bashes his head in with the baseball bat. It was a brutal scene for television, right? A brutal scene. So imagine that. Your child gets his brains bashed out in front of your face, right? Their children also shall be dashed to pieces before their eyes. Their houses shall be spoiled, meaning everything that you have acquired is going to now be taken from you, right? And their wives ravished. So now imagine that as a man. You're watching your wife getting taken advantage of by someone, a person, right? And you can't do nothing about it. This is real stuff right here. The shift. Modern independence fails when civil order collapses. So it ain't gonna be no INDEPENDENT. It ain't gonna be none of that, right? That fails. There's no more rule of law. There's no more someone please call 911. That's not happening no more. Modern independence fails when civil order collapses. Because right now we work off something called a social contract, right? That's what society lives off of, a social contract, right? You don't do something because of that invisible paper or that invisible contract that you have amongst your fellow neighbor. And we see this social contract is diminishing more and more and more because where no one has respect for anybody anymore at all. So the social contract is diminishing right now in front of our eyes. Modern independence fails when civil order collapses. Women will become targets of violence and will desperately seek protection. Isaiah 4:1. And in that day, 7 women shall take hold of one man, saying, we will eat our own bread and wear our own apparel. Only let us be called by thy name to take away our reproach. So women are going to desperately seek protection. That's what that boils down to right there. Kazak, take hold. To fasten upon, to seize, to be strong, to bind, to restrain. The significance of this. Women will not be looking for romance. I'll repeat that. Women will not be looking for romance. They will be looking for a man of the Most High who has the hedge of protection, meaning you know what to do, right? They will offer to feed themselves just to be under his spiritual covering, meaning his name. Section 4, the second wilderness strategy. The third woe, World War III. So let's look at Revelation chapter 11. Revelation chapter 11 and verse 14. And it reads, the second woe is past. So woe goes into destruction. So war. So the second world war, that's past. This happened, right? And behold, the third woe, the third war, the third destruction cometh quickly. It's here. It's here. You can literally turn on your television and you can see talking about the pretty much the straight up what is it, Hamas or whatever it's called, right? Being blocked off and oil barrels not getting sent here and there and stuff like that. Right? You literally can see it here at your door. But too many people are tuned in to Love Island. Too many people are tuned in to, man, you wearing green today. You about to get a pinch. Too many people are tuned into folly and madness. It's literally we already 3 months in, going on 4 months into the so-called New Year of Esau, right? Literally. Time is just flying by, right? Well, we're now in war right now. Kawhi, an exclamation of grief, alas, woe, a disaster or calamity. Prophetic reality. The first and second woes represent the major global conflicts of the past. That's what we learned about in history. Right? Soon, we are going to be history if you don't wake up. If we don't wake up, right? Written about in a book. The third woe is the ultimate final global confrontation, World War III, right? Albert Einstein, right? He had a quote that said, the third, and I'm greatly paraphrasing this quote right here, but it was something to the effect of World War III will be be fought with nuclear for sure, but then he said World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones. World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones, right? Well, it's not going to be no World War IV, but what that statement is telling you is that from the inception of Cain, all man wanted to do is kill, unalive somebody. From the inception of Cain doing the first unaliving, that's all man has had their mindset on to doing is fighting and war. And this is why the ultimate war must be fought, right? And the ultimate war is going to be won by the Most High. That ultimate war is going to be won by his son leading the charge, our King Hamashiach Yahushai, right? The weapons of indignation. Jeremiah chapter 50 and verse 25. Jeremiah chapter 50 and verse 25. And it reads, the Most High have opened his armory and have brought forth the weapons of his indignation. So it says that the Most High has opened up his armory. An ICBM is the Most High's armory, right? Because he puts the spirit on men to create these things and then push the button. The Most High's armory is the chariots, right? That's the Most High's armory. The Most High have opened his armory and have brought forth the weapons of his indignation, meaning the weapons of his destruction. For this is the work of the Most High of hosts in the land of the Chaldeans. The Most High does not need to send lightning from the sky. He has put the spirit of destruction into the minds of men. You hear that? He has put the spirit of destruction into the minds of men. If you think about how a nuclear bomb is created, how an atomic bomb is created, it's created off of elements. Who are familiar with elements? Scientists. The Most High put a spirit on men to become scientists to create material, right, from the elements that causes destruction. Do you understand that? Let me repeat that again. The Most High has put the spirit in a man to become a scientist to create from the elements that come in nature to create atomic bombs, right, of destruction. That's the Most High's armory right there. A person that runs into a building and says, Allahu Akbar, boom, that is the Most High's armory right there. Because he put the spirit on a man to do these things, to create these things, right? Oppenheimer, right? Albert Einstein, right? He put the spirit on these men right here. Even the man that created the Nobel Peace Prize, his last name I think is Nobel or whatever, right? I believe so. So you can correct me in the chat if I'm wrong. But he was creating weapons of destruction, right? And so how dare America talk about some weapons of mass destruction, right? When that's all we created from inception of America being born, right? July 4th, 1776. America was created off of weapons of mass destruction. Come on, give me a break. The global nuclear arsenal, ICBMs, are the very weapon of his indignation, meaning of his destruction. Right? And this shall be the plague wherewith the Most High will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. You see that? That have fought against the Israelites. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth. Gesenius, to melt, to pine away, to rot, to dissolve. The scientific parallel. This is a precise description of the thermal radiation of a nuclear detonation. The intense heat vaporizes flesh, instantly melting eyes and tongues before a body can even fall to the ground. So imagine that. Imagine, let's go back to Sodom and Gomorrah, right? Let's go back to Lot's wife. When Lot's wife looked back, that was a nuclear bomb back then. That was a nuclear missile back then, right? That was a nuclear missile back then, during the time of Lot's wife, right? Where she just turned into a pillar of salt, right? the mushroom cloud, and the bottomless pit. Let's look at that. Revelation chapter 9. Let's look at Revelation chapter 9 and verse 2. And it reads, and he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit, as the smoke of a great furnace, and the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. So John the Revelator lacked modern terminology. So he didn't know what this was he was seeing, right? He didn't understand what a missile was, right? He didn't understand what helicopters and airplanes was. He put it in his what he knew of that day to describe what he was seeing in this vision right here. But he described exactly what he saw: missile silos, bottomless pits, opening, and the massive towering mushroom clouds, smoke of a great furnace that followed detonation. This is what John the Revelator saw, right? The aftermath, fervent heat and fallout. Let's look at that. 2 Peter chapter 3. Let's look at that. 2 Peter chapter 3 and verse 10. But the day of the Most High will come as a thief in the night. So the day that the Most High sends his son back, Hamashiach Yahushai, is going to happen like a thief in the night. Those that are in this truth, in this information, we understand that the thief is coming, right? We understand that he's coming. We don't know when, but we understand that he's coming. In the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise. That's the boom, right? The loud explosions, right? The car alarms going off, the shattering the glass, right? In the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat, right? You're going to be seeing steel beams melting, right? You're going to see things that you thought were indestructible just melting away and turning into liquid, being liquefied. You're going to see people liquefied, right? You're going to see all the Eves that want to have BBLs. You're going to see all that rubber and all that plastic and all that synthetic stuff be fire. It's going to be fuel for the fire, right? It's going to be hot, and it's going to smell bad, right? It's going to smell very bad. And the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also and the works that are therein shall be burned up. You are getting game right now. You are getting free game right now from the Bible, right? Please like, please share, please subscribe to the channel, right? To burn up, kasu, to burn up, set fire to be consumed by heat. The physical reality. The initial blast alters the elements of the earth. So things, they're not going to look the same anymore, right? Big buildings are going to become liquid buildings, right? Big stones are going to become mini stones, small stones. The great noise is the shock wave leaving in listen to this right here. The great noise is a shock wave leaving an irradiated wasteland, right? An irradiated wasteland. Now watch this right here, because we're about to go heavy when we get into 4.5 to talk about this radioactive wasteland that's going to be left. The blackened sky, nuclear winter, right? Nuclear winter. Let's look at Revelation chapter 8. Revelation chapter 8 and verse 12. And the fourth angel sounded, and the third part of the sun was smitten, and the third part of the moon, and the third part of the stars, so as the third part of them was darkened. You see that? Everything is dark, pitch black. Now you have to also remember, there's not going to be any traffic lights. There's not going to be any street lights. All this stuff is done, finished. Was darkened, and the day shone not for a third part of it, and the night likewise. The scientific parallel. Following a large-scale nuclear exchange, millions of tons of soot, right? That's the stuff that burns from a fire that lands on your car and stuff like that, right? And ash are propelled into the stratosphere. Now remember, this stuff is going to be radioactive. It's going to be radioactive soot, That's going to be into the stratosphere. This creates a nuclear winter. So that soot that you see, that's going to be looking like snow coming out of the sky, is going to be radioactive, right? This creates a nuclear winter, blocking out the sun and moon, plummeting global temperatures. So this soot is going to cause it where the temperature is going to greatly decrease, right? Are you prepared for that? Southern California, where it never rains, where it's always sunny, right? Are you prepared for that? Florida, where it's always 80 degrees? Are you prepared for a nuclear winter when the sun is blocked out totally? Blocking out the sun and moon, plummeting global temperatures and destroying crop yields. You see what I'm saying? This is some heavy stuff right here. And it's all in the scripture. It's all in the scriptures. Revelation chapter 16 and verse 8. And the fourth angel poured out his vial upon the sun, and power was given unto him to scorch men with fire. And men were scorched with great heat. What is this talking about? And blasphemed the name of the Most High. So after being scorched, right, by this radioactive fire, this radioactive soot, men are gonna do the exact same thing what Job's wife did. They're gonna try to curse the Most High. They're gonna blaspheme the Most High, right? Which have power over these plagues. You see that? The Most High has power over these plagues, and you're gonna blaspheme him, right? And they repented not to give him glory. People still ain't gonna praise the Most High, right? They're gonna be just like they are on Hollywood. Every single week, every single Sabbath without fail. Do you know the Most High? Do you know the Most High? They're gonna do this, right? They're gonna do this right here. They're gonna do this one right here. They're gonna point up in the sky, right? But they don't know the Most High. Those are the ones that repented not. Those are the ones that did not give him the glory. Comma means heat, burning heat, the physical reality. Nuclear detonations produce massive amounts of nitrogen oxides. What is this? This is elements right here. These are elements that scientists have put together to create these nuclear destructive devices, which destroys the Earth's ozone layer. With the ozone gone, the sun's unfiltered ultraviolet radiation literally scorches the flesh of anyone surviving in the wasteland. So this is Revelation chapter 16 and verse 8 right here, right? The ozone layer is gone. It's depleted, right? And this is what Esau has been trying so hard to do for years and years and decades and centuries on out, is to destroy the world. And now we at the last chapter of the destruction, right? Cutting down the trees in the Amazon, in the rainforest, right? Things that we need to survive, right? Pretty much turning the Amazon, right, into a national conservative park, right? That's pretty much what it's now turned into. The glaciers, that are out in, Antarctica and places like that, right? All just melted away, right? That's the ozone layer being destroyed. Divine exemption. Let's look at Revelation chapter 3 and verse 10. And it reads, because thou hast kept the word of my patience. This is what you call endurance right here, right? This is what you call having stamina, right? This is what you call running a marathon. Keeping the word of the Most High's patience, right? Being patient with the Most High's word. I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, meaning destruction, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth, meaning no one is safe. Everyone is going to feel this. I don't care if you got a bunker somewhere in New Zealand and Australia, right? The scripture says you're going to wish that cave will fall on top of you. Not everyone must face the wrath. Everyone don't got to go through Jacob's trouble. Everyone ain't going to have to deal with this type of stuff right here. Everyone not going to have to worry about food shortages. right? Everyone's not going to have to worry about that. And I pray that, I don't have to deal with that. I pray that those listening, that you don't have to deal with this. Those that may watch the replay, that you don't have to deal with this, because we don't have to. We don't have to go through these things right here. You make that choice if you go through these things or if you don't go through these things, right? You make that choice through your actions right now, right? Not everyone must face the wrath. There's a distinction between the furnace of affliction for growth and the wrath of the Most High for destruction. Repeat that again. There's a distinction for growth and for destruction. The Most High afflicts us for growth, but then he will destroy us because of his wrath as well, right? So you have to pick what side you want to be on. Are you getting afflicted for the growth, to get stronger and enduring this thing? Are you getting afflicted so you can, you're actually feeling his wrath, his destruction? Jacob's trouble is the second wilderness. For the world, this time is the great tribulation, destruction. For the elect, this same time period is the second wilderness, supernatural reliance. You see that? Supernatural reliance. That's what you want to have. That supernatural reliance means that you are in tune. You are on the same vibration and frequency, the same dial as the Most High. You're on his frequency, right? Let's look at Ezekiel chapter 20 and verse 35. And it reads, and I will bring you into the wilderness of the people, and there will I plead with you face to face. You see that? The parallel of Egypt, Ezekiel 20 and 36. Like as I pleaded with your fathers in the wilderness of the land of Egypt, so will I plead with you, saith the Most High. In the first wilderness, Israel had manna, while Egypt had famine. So what do you want? Do you want that manna, or do you want the famines of America that's coming, right? Because America is nothing but modern day Egypt. Israel had light while Egypt had darkness, right? What do you want? What do you want to have? The choice is yours right now. You make that decision right now, what you want. Do you want famine or do you want manna? Purging the rebels. Ezekiel 20 and 38. And I will purge out from among you the rebels, because they're rebels amongst us, right? There are rebels out here that rebel against the word of the Most High. And them that transgress against me. So those that transgress against the Most High, those are rebels. You want to mark those rebels and stay far away from those rebels. And them that transgress against me, I will bring them forth out of the country where they sojourn, and they shall not enter into the land of Israel. And ye shall know that I am the Most High. The wilderness is a filtration system. The rebels are removed during this process. Only the righteous survive the wilderness to enter the kingdom, right? That comes with endurance. Revelation chapter 12 and verse 14. Revelation chapter 12 and verse 14. And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, and she might fly into the wilderness, into her place, where she is nourished for a time and times and half a time from the face of the serpent. The symbolism. The woman representing Israel is given a specific place prepared by the Most High away from the beast system, right? That's us getting away from the rebels, if it be the Most High's will. Hidden by the Most High. Zephaniah 2 and 3. Let's get that. Zephaniah 2 and 3. Seek ye the Most High. Let me read that again. Seek ye the Most High, all ye meek of the earth, which have wrought his judgment. Seek righteousness, seek meekness. It may be ye shall be hid in the day of the Most High's anger. So this is game right here. This is information. This is literally the blueprint for us to escape these dangers right here. It first starts off with seeking the Most High. Get Kwam Yasha Allah out of the order, right? Stop saying that. That's wrong order. right? Get that out of your mind. Kwam Yashala, Kwam Yashala. Get that out of the first thing you call on in the order. It says, seek ye the most high. That's Kwam Yasha. That's Kwam. So you got me about to go to. That's Kwam most high. That's the order. Kwam most high. Seek ye the most high. It may be ye shall be hid in the day of the most high's anger. So when you seek the most high first and not seek Israel, right? Because Israel ain't got nothing for you but an empty cupboard, right? During this day, this time of famine. You seek the most high will make sure your cupboards are full, right? He'll make you be like what was it? The prophet Ezekiel, right? When the crows brought him bread, right? That's what will happen. Right? Correct me right, might have been Elijah. But you'll get brought that bread. It'll come out of nowhere. You'll get food out of nowhere. You may stumble across a cache of food, right? In the wilderness somewhere, right? That person is not even here anymore that stockpiled all this food, but that food was stockpiled just for you and your family right there. But that comes with, first and foremost, seeking the Most High. To hide, to conceal, to cover over. Implication, divine concealment from the surveillance state and the coming destruction. Isaiah 26 and 20. Let's look at that. Isaiah 26 and 20. And it reads, come, my people, enter thou into thy chambers and shut thy doors about thee. Hide thyself as it were for a little moment. You see that? Until the indignation be overpassed, right? Because when there's nuclear radiation out there, it just happened, right? You have to go on a lockdown for a period of 2 to 3 weeks because that radioactive soot is still in the air out there, right? While the world panics at 85 seconds to midnight, the elect enter the chambers of prayer and separation. See that? You go into that spiritual place. You separate yourself now from this world. You don't wait till the destruction happens to try to scramble, but you do it now. Section 4.5, right? This is a critical part right here. Tactical preparation for the third woe. Proverbs chapter 22 and verse 3. A prudent man foreseeth the evil. Let me get a definition real quick of that word prudent for those that may not know. Prudent, wise, discerning, judicious, knowing, skilled, sagacious, circumspect, rarely in literal sense foreseeing. So a prudent man foreseeth the evil. We need to be those prudent men and women foreseeing the evil that's to come, right? And hideth himself, but the simple pass on. The simple are going to your St. Patty's Day parades. The simple are watching Love Island, right? But the simple pass on and are punished. That's destruction right there. To prepare, to make ready, to establish, to set up. Faith requires action. Repeat that again. Because Christians will always come to us. I got faith, brother. I got faith right here. Pointing at that, tapping that thing on their chest, right? I got faith. Faith requires action. That means you got to do something. Noah was saved by faith, but he still had to build the physical ark, right? He had to get to work. He had to put some nails onto the wood and build the ark. We must prepare physical logistics for the coming destruction. The first milliseconds, the flash and the EMP. The flash. Never look at the flash of a detonation. So if this thing happens, because it can happen at any given time, it's not a set time when the Most High is going to cause this destruction to happen here on U.S. soil, right? We don't know, right? But what we can do is prepare ourselves. The flash. Never look at the flash of a detonation. So if this thing happens, let's say you're at work. Let's say you're at the grocery store. You hear a loud noise and outside it's a giant mushroom cloud, right? Do not look at it. The intense light will instantly burn your retinas and cause permanent blindness. This is what you need to do. Get low, cover your head, keep your mouth open. When you keep your mouth open, this equalizes the pressure from the shock wave, right? Your body has your lungs, your eardrums. By opening your mouth, right, what that does is it prevents your lungs from collapsing. It also prevents your eardrums from rupturing, right? Like whenever you drive in a place that's mountainous, right, you might want to chew on some gum because you hear the popping in your ears, right? Well, imagine that times a million, right? So this is why you want to get low, cover your head, and open your mouth, right? So that pressure can go through your body from that explosion right here, right? The EMP, electromagnetic pulse. The blast will fry the power grid. So let me repeat that again. The blast will fry the power grid. The bricking, cell phones, modern vehicles. This is a big one right here, right? Because America, chiefly California, right, has pushed it where everyone needs to have an electric vehicle. You can't buy no gas-operated generator anymore. Everything is electric. What are they preparing you for, really, right? 2027, this place is still here. You can't buy no more gas-powered vehicles off the car lot anymore like that, off of brand new car lots anymore. Everything has to be electric now, right? Look how they setting you up for the okie doke, setting you up for failure right here. Cell phones, modern vehicles, so your Teslas and all these little electric vehicles, you start them up and they sound like a dang on PlayStation when you start them up, right? All those things are going to be nothing but bricks. Laptops will become useless. Bricks instantly. So you can use those as pretty much you can use those as maybe boarding up something or something, I guess. Use your laptop to board up something with, right? Use your monitor, your TV to board up something. The defense, use a Faraday bag or a sealed metal trash can, right? So Faraday bags, you can buy them off of Amazon. They're about $20. $20, you can get a set of them. You can put your electronic devices inside of them. And these will protect them from an EMP, right? Also, those old metal trash cans, right? Like they used to have back in the day. Metal trash cans, you want to put a cardboard lining inside them so your electronic doesn't touch the actual metal. But that will also protect your devices from an EMP, right? So you want to put as much stuff in there as you can to store critical electronics and backup radios. So you want to put your radios in there. You want to put your charging ports. You want to put all that stuff inside of those metal trash cans, right? Or a Faraday bag. Impact zones in the rule of 7 to 10. Ground zero and blast zones. Complete vaporization and structural collapse. So if you at ground zero, the blast zone, unsurvivable, right? You better hope you've done enough righteous things, good things, and follow the law enough to outweigh your bad things that you make it to the kingdom of heaven. But that's unsurvivable, right? That's ground zero. That's the blast zone, right? You're not going to make it. Thermal zone, 3rd degree burns, massive fires, survivable only in deep underground shelters. So this is probably about, let's say maybe 10 miles away from the ground zero zone. If you find a place like maybe a subway tunnel or a fortified, maybe a bank, go into a bank vault. I don't know, lock yourself in a bank vault. You possibly can survive, right? The true long-term killer, radioactive ash carried by the wind. This is what you call the fallout zone, right? This is what everyone has to be prepared for. The 7 to 10 rule of nuclear decay. For every 7-fold increase in time after detonation, radiation levels drop by a factor of 10. So, for example, if radiation is lethal at 1 hour, after 7 hours, it has dropped to 90%. After 49 hours, it drops another 90%. So this is pretty much the Most High clearing up the atmosphere. So this is why it's so important to know these things right here, right? The invisible plague, radiation sickness. This is what a lot of people will die from right here. Radiation poison. The threat. You cannot see, smell, or taste ionizing radiation. It damages DNA and destroys your cellular structure from the inside out. The tool. You must own a Geiger counter or a dosimeter. Now, you can find these on Amazon right now for about 50, 60 bucks. This device right here is a must-have, right? A must-have, right? Because this is the only way that you are able to test for radiation in the air, right? Whether it's safe or not safe to go outside. You must own a Geiger counter. It is the only way to know the radiation levels in your environment. You can't, I don't know, you can't like, I don't know, what do Jake be doing? Jake think they know everything, right? You get a stick and, I don't know, put something on a stick and you're like, oh, there's this much radiation in there. No, it don't work like that. You got to have certain devices and tools. And this is why you got to have also, you know, a tin can or a Faraday cage so you can put this device in so it doesn't fry, right? It says it is the only way to know the radiation levels in your environment. You can't just nigger rig something, right? You can't nigger rig a Geiger counter, right? To verify if your shelter is safe and to know when it is actually safe to emerge after the decay period. The danger. So medical defense. This is potassium iodine. Radioactive iodine is a major component of fallout. If inhaled or swallowed, your thyroid gland, that's under here. These are your thyroid glands, right? On your neck, around your neck area. This is where what you got to watch out for, right? It says your thyroid gland will absorb it, leading to rapid thyroid cancer, right? The solution, potassium iodine tablets. How it works. Taking potassium iodine fills your thyroid with safe, stable iodine so it cannot physically absorb the radioactive iodine from the fallout. Now, note this. It only protects the thyroid. It does not stop external radiation, right? It only protects your thyroid. That's all it protects, right? So those are something that you want to have inside your medical bag, right? Some potassium iodine. Tactical decontamination. If you must go out, cover every inch of your skin. So you want to have the hoodie on, you want to have your mask on, you want to have everything covered on you, right? If you must go out, cover every inch of your skin. Respirator, N95 mask, goggles, gloves, hooded coat. When returning, step 1, shed. Remove all outer clothing before entering your clean room and leave it outside or seal it in a plastic bag, or you can put it inside of a plastic trash bag or something, right? You do not want to come in the clean area. Wherever you're taking shelter at, you do not want to come inside of that in that area with particles and matter from outside, because you have a whole bunch of radioactive soot and dust on you that you can bring into your area and now contaminate it, right? You can contaminate everyone and poison everyone that's inside of your group, right? And this is so important too, right? Because in the end, you don't know who you're going to be with in the end, right? All, Israelites don't want to get along and fight each other. This camp versus that camp. They wear black, I wear purple. In the end, this is what's going to matter right here. Are they coming inside of there with some contaminated fringes on and they got radioactive soot all over their ribbon of blue, right? This is what's going to matter in the end. It says, wash your body aggressively with soap and warm water. Crucial warning, wash your hair with shampoo, but never use conditioner. Conditioner will permanently bind radioactive particles to your hair. So when you have to wash your hair, don't use conditioner, right? It will bind to that radioactive material. The wilderness storehouse, rations. Water is life. Radioactive fallout will contaminate the municipal water supply and open lakes, rivers. So that's why I was talking about earlier about the water. You can't just go to the beach and drink water. You can't just go to your local lake and start drinking water from it, right? You will most definitely expire by doing that. That's the quickest way to expire. You must store sealed water, minimum 1 gallon per person per day. So if you haven't started getting water, hey, you should have started like yesterday. Have high-end water filtration systems like Life Straw. You can get all the stuff right you can get from Amazon. Life Straw, Family, or Berkey, right? Also with this water, you can use it for protection, right? When you have cases of water, you can put them up to your window, right? Put them up to your window, and that's another layer of protection from radiation entering your area, right? Capable of filtering out physical radioactive particulate matter. Rationing. Secure non-perishable food, rice, beans, canned meats, MREs when the grid falls. Strict rationing must begin on day 1. Now, another thing with that strict rationing, right? Your refrigerator, right? When the grid goes out, you don't have no power to your refrigerator, right? So what you should first and foremost do, your refrigerator, the food will start to spoil within 4 hours, right? 4 hours, your food will start to spoil. Your freezer, your food starts to spoil within 24 hours. So what you should do is start moving stuff to the freezer if possible, but you want to start cooking, making a fire to cook the food that's in your refrigerator immediately. That's what you want to do. Cook the food that's perishable in your refrigerator immediately. Day 1, right? Because it's gonna go bad. It's gonna spoil, and there's no need to waste it. So start cooking that food first. Communications in the dark, the blackout. Cell towers will be dead or jammed. The internet will be gone. You're not going to have these videos, these lives to come back to anymore. This is why it's important to write down notes. Remember this stuff right here. Start doing drills in your household and stuff like that, right? To get yourself prepared for this. When you have tabernacles is a perfect time to do drills for things like this. If we make it to another tabernacle, right? These are perfect times to reenact these things out right here, right? What's your speed? Because you can't just say you're going to be ready, right? And be ready the moment something happens, right? Even after knowing this information right here, you're not going to be ready right away, right? Your mind is going to go through a process. It's going to have, especially people that are unprepared, right? The people that listen right now, you have an advantage over people that are not prepared, right? Because you know it's going to be coming, right? So that 15, 30 minutes, you already going to have your mind, okay, I knew this was going to happen. It's happening now. Versus the rebels in the world, right? They're going to be looking like, what's going on? They're going to be trying to call up people. They're going to be walking aimlessly trying to figure out what's going on, right? That's time right there. And when disaster happens, time is of the essence. Time is your most valuable thing. So while people are wandering around trying to figure out why the lights are out and stuff and everything like that, you're going to have your mind, okay, I already know what time it is. You're going to start preparing things. You're going to start boarding things up and everything like that, right? So you already have an advantage right now. You just got to act on it. The blackout. Cell towers will be dead or jammed. The internet will be gone. The backup. Maintain hand crank emergency radios. NOAA or shortwave to listen for critical intel. You can get this stuff off Amazon, right? 20, 30 bucks. Get it with your next paycheck, right? Local comms. Have a set of long-range walkie-talkies. Again, those walkie-talkies, you want to store those inside of your trash can, your metal trash can or your Faraday bag. Or you can get walkie-talkies that don't they don't deal with the grid, right? Off-grid walkie-talkie. See that? Started buffering. That could have been. See that? Started buffering on me right now. Thought the grid went down already. Have a set of long-range walkie-talkies stored in your Faraday cage to communicate with your household or trusted brethren if you are forced to scavenge or secure a perimeter, right? Taking shelter, the chambers, the best locations. So if this happens, right, You want to know where you need to be at. You want mass and distance between you and the outside. Deep basements, underground, and I know down here, in California, there's not a lot of houses with basements on it, right? Deep basements, underground parking structures are the absolute center of a heavy brick concrete building. These are the best places to be at, right? Sealing the chamber. Block all windows and vents immediately. So this is game that you have right now. You want to seal off little openings immediately. Take that duct tape, right? You want to put your couch up to windows and everything like that, right? Block all windows and vents immediately. Use heavy plastic sheeting and duct tape to seal the room and stop radioactive dust fallout from entering. Turn off all HVAC / AC units pulling air from outside. Section 5, the mechanics of salvation. So let's look at this. 1 Thessalonians chapter 4 and verse 17. 1 Thessalonians chapter 4 and verse 17. Then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Most High in the air. And so shall we ever be with Hamashiach Yahushai. So, harpazo, to seize, carry off by force, to snatch out or away. Clarification. The wilderness protects us through the trouble. The harpazo removes us at the end of it. See that? And that's what we want to do. We want to be removed from all this in the end. Hebrews 5 and 9. Hebrews 5 and 9. And it reads, and being made perfect, he became the author of eternal salvation unto all them that obey him. Right? Talking about Hamashiach Yahushai. Right? Obeying him. Right? Salvation is not passive mental assent. It is active compliance with the commandments of the Most High. Active compliance with the commandments of the Most High. Ezekiel 9:4. Set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and that cry for all the abominations. Revelation 7:3. Revelation 7:3. Saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our power in their foreheads. That's what we want to do. We want to be sealed, right? We want to have the Most High's name sealed in our foreheads. The mark of exception. 2nd Ezra chapter 16. 2nd Ezra chapter 16. And verse 74. Hear, O ye, my beloved, saith the Most High. Behold, the days of trouble are at hand, but I will deliver you from the same. So you see that everyone doesn't have to go through Jacob's trouble. He said, I will deliver you from the same. While the world falls apart, the Most High is a guide to his own. Returning to the Most High. Jeremiah 2:13. Jeremiah 2:13. For my people have committed two evils. They have forsaken me, the fountain of living waters, and hewed them out cisterns, broken cisterns that can hold no water. Application. The doomsday scenario exists because the world has forsaken the source of life. This is why we are here today, because the world has forsaken the source of life, the Most High. The call to return. Hosea 6:1. Hosea 6:1. Come and let us return unto the Most High, for he hath torn and he will heal us. He hath smitten and he will bind us up. To turn back, to return, to repent, to turn away from sin. 2 Chronicles 7:14. 2 Chronicles 7:14. If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. Action plan, humility. That's the first thing, right? This is the action plan. First, you have to have humility. Admit we are wrong. Admit we are wrong. Admit you were wrong. We must admit that we were wrong. We didn't have it right. Prayer, reestablish communication. That's how you communicate with the Most High, right? Going into your secret place and talking to the Most High. Seek, that's study the word. Turn, stop the behavior. Acts 4 and 12. Acts 4 and 12. Neither is there salvation in any other, for there is none other name under heaven given among men whereby we must be saved. Theological focus. We cannot return to the Most High, the Father, without the mediation and blood of Hamashiach Yahushai. For all you Christians, that's the Son, right? Ecclesiastes 12 and 13. Winding it on down. Ecclesiastes 12 and 13. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear the Most High and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. The final charge. The clock reads 85 seconds. The days are short. The trouble is Jacob's, but the wilderness is the Father's protection, the Most High. Return to the Most High while the door is still open. Right? So this is very important information out, that's being put out in these last days, 85 seconds to midnight. We have to keep the Most High first. Kwam Most High, Kwam Hamashiach Yahushai, and Kwam Yasha'Allah. Like, share, subscribe. We got the Elder Priest Awam's class coming up later in the week and stuff like that. Camp and everything coming up. We are in some rough and trying times, some hard times, some scary times, some dark times, right? Times that are uncertain, right? But we have to keep the Most High first, right? Keep that order first, the Most High. Learn to fear the Most High, right? Pray to him daily, right? Because you can never go far enough, right? You can never go far enough in your prayer, right? So with that, until next time, Shalom.